Morning. Everybody have a good holiday? Family get along well? Yeah? No conflicts or hurt feelings? Everything went fine? Should have come to my house. Well, I tell you, we are just all over the board. We have the fundamentalist Christians, we have the atheists, we have the unity minister, and it's just a mad mix when we start talking religion. Anyway, I welcome you here. I appreciate your presence. I feel very fortunate to be with you on Sunday mornings as we explore spiritual principles. And if you're listening to this on a CD or watching it on YouTube, I'll give you a special welcome. Come join us sometime soon. We welcome you to Unity Temple in the Plaza. If you're facing a disappointing time right now, or you're dealing with a problem or a challenge that just seems too heavy to carry, if you're dealing with conflict in a relationship, or you suffered a loss or a setback, this is exactly where you need to be. Just as we nourish the body and we exercise to make it feel stronger and we feel better and we feel more alive, it's the same thing with the Spirit. The Spirit needs to be nourished, and Sunday mornings is when we do that. When we listen to inspiration and motivation, take time to reflect on our blessings, the Spirit is strengthened, we feel better, and we go forth to do the life that is ours to do. I can assure you this, you're going to feel better today when you walk out of here than you did when you walked in. Tomorrow's going to be better than yesterday. This coming week is going to be much better than last week because you have everything you need within you to rise above and move beyond anything that hampers your peace of mind or your sense of well-being. Your peace of mind is the greatest thing we desire, each and every one of us as a human being. Harmony is our most natural state, and love is the greatest experience that we can have. There's no greater thing than to enjoy a relationship in which love is exchanged between two people or between a group of people. But we can find that same joy in the relationship that we have with ourselves. And I know that sounds like kind of a strange concept to many of us because we are raised the idea that if you love yourself, you're conceited, or if you love yourself, you're overly proud, or if you love yourself, you're arrogant. But I'm not talking about the kind of love that compares ourselves to somebody else and determines that we are better than somebody. I'm not talking about the kind of love that is competing. I'm not talking about the kind of love that is prideful or that is jealous or that is conceited. I'm talking about a kind of love that is pure, unadulterated, unconditional self-acceptance without any comparisons whatsoever. It's saying, this is who I am. I am glad to be alive. I have a great future ahead of me, period. I don't have to look at the world around me and compare myself to somebody or something out there to determine the value that I have in here. And that's somehow where our culture has gone. We rely on our self-worth, or we rely on our value based on something out there. How much money I got, how much power I have, what position I hold, how I look. Everything is based on something out there, and something out there is always changing. If you're in your 20s and your entire value is based on how young, youthful, and good you look, that is going to change. And as it changes, your value is going to change if that's where it is focused. We need to shift our focus from the changing world out there to that which is eternal, and that which is eternal is the Spirit within you that provides you with attributes, spiritual attributes that are unlimited in potential, never-ending, never diminishing. If we look at the world around us, there'll always be somebody out there that seems to have a better life than us. The grass will always seem greener on the other side. But when we turn within, we discover all the joy and all the happiness and all the peace and all the love that we need right here, and then we express it on the world around us. Once upon a time, there was a stonecutter. He was a man that was small in stature, and he had a very humble appearance. He lived in a little house just outside the village. He was very good at his trade, but from time to time, he would lose his sight in regards to how blessed he was. Well, one day with hammer and chisel, he was out pounding on a huge stone, and he heard a bunch of people gathering along the roadside. He went out to see what was going on, and he discovered that the king was coming to the village that day. Later on, the king pulled up in a beautiful golden carriage that was gleaming bright. He had on a velvet robe with a fur collar. His crown was encrusted with jewels and gems of every sort. And the stonecutter thought, oh, if only I was the king, then I'd be so happy. Life would be wonderful. There's nobody more powerful than the king. And the gods in heaven heard him, and immediately, just like that, he was made the king. So the stonecutter, as king, sat in his palace, looking out over his kingdom. And he realized as the sun shined down on the people and the village around him that everybody was affected by its heat. And he came to realize that he wasn't the most powerful person around, that the sun was. Nobody could escape its extreme heat. So the king wished, if only I was the sun, then I would be the most powerful thing in the world. I'll never have to worry again. And just like that, the king became the sun. One day, as the sun shined down on the workers and the warriors, and they were all sweltering under the heat, a cloud came over, and it blocked out the rays of the sun. The sun came to realize that it wasn't the most powerful thing in the world, for the cloud could prevent its rays from penetrating anything. And the sun began to wish that it was the cloud, and it became the cloud. As the cloud had a lot of might and a lot of force and a lot of power, and it generated that power within it and created a rainstorm. And the rainstorm created rivers, and it came down on the houses, and everything on earth was affected by the rain. Except for one huge rock. And see, Heidi knows the punchline in this, and she jumped way ahead. And she's telling it to everybody back there. So, one huge rock, and the rock was now you made me lose my form of track. Can we rewind? The rock was undaunted by the rain. It stood mighty and it stood sturdy, and nothing could possibly touch it. Until one day it heard a tiny clink, and it looked down, and there was a stonecutter, small in stature, ever so humble, chipping away at the big stone. Now, the moral of this story is, if you haven't already gotten it, is that our life is beautiful and wonderful just the way it is. We don't have to become something else to be happy. We don't have to do something else in order to have a sense of self-worth. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to get anything. We just have to appreciate the self for what it is, exactly as it is. And don't fall into all the expectations out there that say, you need to do this before I'm going to be happy with you. Or the artificial standards out there that say you got to look like this, or you got to look way like this, or you got to do this, or you got to do that before you can be proud or before you can be happy of your body. Don't look outside of you and think that you need $1 million before you can be happy, because if that's where your value is based, as soon as you run into somebody with $2 million, you're not going to feel good at all. And the person with $2 million runs into a person with $4 million, they're not going to feel good at all. Everything out there of a material sense, everything out there of a physical sense is changing, and there is no value in it in regards to you and yourself. Jesus says, put your value in the kingdom of heaven, not in things that rust and not in things that corrupt. The kingdom of heaven is the consciousness within you. It's this range of consciousness that brings to you spiritual attributes that allow you to negotiate and move through life in a way where you have peace, you have harmony, and you have love. The greatest thing we desire, our most natural state, and the greatest experience we can have. Each and every one of us here has strength, a spiritual attribute, spiritual strength to make it through the most difficult of times. Every one of us here has wisdom in order to solve the problems and the challenges that come our way. Every one of us here has imagination, a spiritual attribute, so we can create the life of our desire. Every one of us here has power, which means that we can rise above and move beyond anything, any obstacle that tries to prevent us from being who we are. The list of spiritual attributes goes on and it goes on.